Hello.
How you doing,
What's up,
big guy?
JJ? How you doing, boo boo?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, good. How's your week, man?
The week was good.
Not
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, not bad. It was it was a busy week. We had a lot of stuff to try and get all under control for the rain came today. It rained yesterday, a little bit today, but we got more rain coming the rest of this week.
Oh,
So
I know.
at work, there's a lot of prep work that goes into. We don't get a lot of rain typically, but when we do, it kind of hits
quite a bit.
It hits it hits the spots that we have to maintain pretty hard. So we got to be prepared for it. So
Is it worse because it doesn't rain as much?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because like say if it rained consistently, it probably wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's both. I mean, you deal with a lot of like in certain trail areas, we deal with a lot of like erosion, but that's just going to happen, and it just takes like maintenance and other little things like that. We're trying to get a bunch of grants and stuff to try and do better trail maintenance, but that stuff is expensive, man.
I can
We
imagine.
did some really good stuff earlier in the year throughout the city that was like real top level stuff. So we're trying to implement more of that stuff.
What's most expensive? Because is it like
It's the labor.
the labor is so like
100%.
paying everyone, or is
100%.
it like the equipment, the machinery?
Nah, you
It's the
get because you
labor?
get it because you get what you pay for. We'll buy even if we buy like a tractor, like a skid steer. We use the heck out of it. We'll get our money's worth.
And it lasts.
But even if we pay for like a contractor to come in, right? A lot of times we'll buy the material, and then we'll pay them their labor. But that's what's most expensive by far, especially because they're working for a government, so they have to have all of these like everything that you think that they need. Like it's crazy, and they have that prevailing wage. So it's a lot
All
of
the
a lot,
PPE,
a lot goes into it. For
all
sure.
the training. Okay, I get
Well, and
it.
then there's special. You're paying for the specialty that they have and what they know. So, it's definitely the labor, especially on like project stuff like that.
That's crazy, man.
It gets up there. It gets up there in price, and then just trying to nail all that stuff down is a pain in the butt to begin with too.
Yeah.
So it's way easier to do stuff in house.
To have to coordinate it all is pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's a lot. A lot goes into it. It should be just, hey, I need this done, get it done. But it's not. It's never like that. But like with in-house guys, hey, I need this done. Boom, they're on it. So it's just, with the times that we're in right now, there's a lot of moving parts that go on. So we're working with a short crew and getting insane amount of work done, just not as much as you'd like to. So
Yeah.
it's that part is tough. Is realizing that there's stuff that should get done and needs to get done, but it ain't.
But it's not.
You don't. You're kind of stuck. You don't really have an option to do anything else. So
I would imagine like every market has to deal with that at some point. Like
for sure.
everyone, huh? Right. Like
for sure.
something needs to be done, or you need new equipment, or this needs to be purchased so you can do this. But then you got to jump through all the hoops.
It's like anything.
Yeah.
It's like anything. It's tough. I think as I've moved up and as I'm like in a position I am now, you start to see the higher you go, the more it's ran business minded rather than like service minded. Meaning you look a lot less at the product that you're giving or the service that you're providing or what you're doing, more of, well, how can I spend my money wisely? How can I use my money efficiently? How can I use what I'm getting and what I'm putting out to benefit us? So it's not so much as the service as it is, hey, I got all these, and rightfully so. I mean, someone's got to take notice of the books and the numbers and stuff. You can't go broke just because you want to
trying to do all that shit. Yeah, you gotta figure out like the finite side of it. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so
I get it, man. That's pretty dope.
But other than that, man, it was cool. We just kind of hung out, watched some football today, watched those games today.
Oh, I know.
Which were good. I'm happy about them.
I
just didn't want to see.
asleep.
I just didn't want to see Green Bay win.
You did. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
I hate Green Bay. Bro.
I wanted Green Bay to win, and I wanted the Bills to win.
No, and I as a Jets fan, I love the idea of Tom Brady going to the Super Bowl and maybe winning it because it's a huge like stick it to the Patriots.
Oh, okay.
And I hate the Patriots.
Yeah.
My level of fandom goes the Jets,
Carolina?
any other team that's playing against the Patriots, and then SC, and then down the list.
And then Carolina?
And yeah, Carolina's in the 32, the top 32.
The top there. Damn, no love.
Yeah,
No love.
yeah, I hate the Patriots, bro.
Yeah,
so I was happy
yeah.
to see that.
That's cool. Yeah,
But it was just
I
good.
like-
It was honestly that Green Bay Tampa game was it was just a good game.
It looked good.
Yeah, it was a really good game. The
I was
second
asleep.
one,
I
second
was
one wasn't so
asleep,
good. Kansas City did what I think everyone expected them to do.
Yeah,
The Bills were hot though, man. The Bills came into the game on a hot streak. They've been playing extremely well.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is playing lights out, man. That dude's gonna be good.
They're so dope. Josh
Yeah.
Allen's dope, man.
He is. He's very dynamic. He's extremely well rounded too.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's young,
Yeah.
so only his third year in the
He's from
league.
Fireball.
He's from Fireball.
Yeah. Going up towards Sacramento.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I had
But
no
there's
idea.
like one exit and one highway sign where you're
Wow.
like, who lives here? Like who gets off?
Josh Allen came from
Josh
there. Yeah,
Allen,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
saw one person get off that exit one
Wow.
day, and it was the last time. Where me and Sienna went somewhere. Oh, it was when I went. I had some training up in Hollister, some shooting training, and I actually saw someone get off the freeway on Fireball, and I was like, "What the hell?" It was like 2 a.m. I said, "Man, that has to be like a serial killer or something."
Yeah.
Bro.
Well, it's like those ones when you're going like to Vegas.
Yeah.
And you see Zizek's Road,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you're
you're
like,
like-
yo, I see like a trailer out there. There's a diner, so somebody's got to live somewhere.
Yeah.
Where do they live? It's like a Hills Have Eyes thing.
It's crazy shit.
Yeah, it's
They do like
bananas.
the Burning Man out there, don't they?
I don't know where they do it at. I know obviously they do it in some desert spot, but I don't know where specifically they do it at.
Bro, that's just crazy, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I'll pass.
It's weird.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass for me, bro.
The only stop, like once I don't even like stop in bar. Well, I stop in bar still because there's some stores over there you can go use the bathroom, get some
Del Taco, homie.
Right, Del Taco, Mickey D's, and then we stop in Baker to always. There's that little Greek restaurant where we always get
Yeah.
smoothies at, and then after that, man, we don't stop again, bro. It's not until you get maybe to stay in line, maybe.
And even then, them places are shoddy.
Yeah, he's just like we can do it. We can do it. We're almost
I'm pretty
there.
sure the last time we stayed at State Line, I saw blood splatter on the wallpaper in the room we were staying in.
That's crazy, bro.
So, needless to say, I slept on top of the sheets.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it
I'll
was
never
pretty
do
wild,
that.
dude.
I'll never do that.
But it was nice because I have a Class A license and they give you Class A discount for staying there. So,
Oh shit.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
My mom's friend, she said that she used to like work in like the hotel industry, and she was like, I think she did like some maid work or something back in the day. And she was like, yeah, a lot of the girls, like the majority of people who work with women. And she was saying that a lot of the girls, they don't, like if they can come in and be like, can we reuse these sheets and like just fold them up? Like, yeah, we'll reuse them because we could just fold them back up and bang right through it and move on to
Oh,
the next
yeah.
one.
Efficiency
And you're
at
like,
its
what?
finest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Max efficiency. That's crazy, bro. That's just like you were saying, right? Like the business side. And
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Cut corners all day. All day. Yeah.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. But how was your week? Busy.
Bro, it
Tack
was
alert again.
absolutely ridiculous, man. Like the crimes that were going on, the crazy shit people were doing, like the fatals that we had, where it was just like, what? Like crazy shit, man.
So stuff that wasn't even necessarily related to what they put you guys on Tack Alert for in the beginning.
Oh yeah, no, not at all whatsoever. Yeah, and we were all just prepped and standing by for the inauguration.
Yeah.
Is there was a lot of word on the street that stuff was going to happen or potentially stuff was going to happen. So we were just kind of standing by instead of waiting for it. Because kind of like when all the protests happened out in L.A. when Trump won. Like that just hit us. That like kind of kicked us in the dick because, like I remember I was at my mom and dad's house, and we were chilling. It was like 11 o'clock or midnight, and fucking like I got a call and the sergeant's like, "Hey man, you guys got to come in," and people were just running amok doing crazy shit. So they're like, "We got to be prepared to go help out," but it was like logistically it was a nightmare. So now they're at the point to where they're like, "Hey, we're just gonna
Stay ready and get
we're
the
gonna
kid
yeah
ready.
we're gonna stay ready."
Yeah.
Where they pay us, I mean, it's a shit ton of overtime because we're getting overtime. I think I got like 62 hours of overtime. I worked 13 days straight. And then so it's a drag because on Tackler we're on 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going home, and I live super close to work, so it's like I get off, I go home. I try to stay awake. I try to spend some time. I was able to play with Oliver for a little bit and like play with some little army man or stay up and talk to Sienna for a little bit. Then I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I'm sleeping all the way through to like 5:30, and we got to be
Get
back
up
in
and
by
go
6.
back in.
So it's just like it's rough, man.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't too bad, man. And towards the end of the week here, we got the rain, so I was busy at work. And
Did anything happen around us at all, as far as like
No,
inauguration
nothing.
stuff? Because
Nothing.
it was relatively quiet. Obviously, other than the giant thing that happened at the Capitol, right?
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything.
Nah,
else.
man, it fell off. Like we heard all these stories about like SF stealing laptops, and they're gonna expose Nancy Pelosi
Yeah.
and shit, and Trump had something up his sleeve. There was something where my buddy at work was telling me, and I was telling Sienna like, oh, we got to take our money out of our bank accounts, and the French president got arrested. And I was like, wait, what's going on, man? Like, just a bunch of crazy shit, bro. So
Just let the conspiracies fly,
yeah.
homie.
Oh, bro, let's do it.
I watched a crazy one the other day. I think it just popped up on like a YouTube. I guess YouTube has like they call them shorts, something like that, right? It's like almost like how Instagram used to does stories.
Okay.
And one of them was he pulled up and he wrote the word Corona.
Okay.
Okay, and so there's 6 letters in the word Corona, so he wrote a 6. And then if you correspond each letter with its place in the alphabet, right? C is 3, O is like 16 or whatever, right? You do all those, all for Corona, and then you add them up, it's 66. So you have 666. Then you take 2020 and you divide it by 666, and the number is like 30330. And then that number is the number that Joe Biden used to text his whatever. I don't know if it was not his campaign because he won already, but something that he was doing, or some little like connect thing. But it said text United to 30330. So the way that those, I know, maybe it's a coincidence, but that's a crazy like weird coincidence. And I have no idea what it means, but just weird stuff. How things like that get put together. It's a trip, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Even thinking about the motherfucker that like sat down to do all that.
Right? Or like remember when I don't know if it's a $20 bill, how you can fold it and then it looks
like the
two
towers?
It looks like 2 towers burning. Ugh. There's no way when the $20 bill was made or the image was put on there that they could have planned that far ahead that those buildings were going to be there and they were going to do that.
Or did they?
Or did they?
Yeah,
they? Good point. Some crazy stuff, dude. I don't know.
Oh, shit.
I don't know.
Motherfuckers are dirty.
Yeah, that's true.
They're dirty.
It's all dirty.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So you getting some rest now, though?
I did. I'm gonna sleep good tonight, man. I was sleeping all day today, and then I'll go to bed early tonight. And I still got to take down my Christmas lights.
I haven't taken mine down either
So
yet.
I was just like, I've been busy, bro.
I forget it. I'm gonna leave mine up.
And you know, speaking of dirty, we were talking about this earlier. Was I tried to fucking cop the Chinese New Year 5s and the street hawkers.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since I've been buying shoes. And you were telling me about it. You were warning me about this whole fucking app thing.
Sneakers is dirty.
Bro, I can't believe it.
It's crazy, man.
I feel like this is worse. Like, because what got me out of the sneaker game was like trying to go when the first pair of Spizikes came out, and I went to the store, and I told you about this already, right? I went to the store. Guy's boy comes in, he sells them the Spizikes before they drop. So by the time they drop, I took off of work, went to go pick them up, and they're like, we don't have any of your sizes.
Yeah.
They're all sold out.
And
I'm like, bro,
boy.
I just saw you sell like 3 pairs like 2 or 3 days ago. I came in and bought 2 or 3 pairs of shoes, went in that Saturday to go buy a pair of Spizikes. And I was livid, man. The first Yeezys, couldn't get them. Second Yeezys, couldn't get them. When those little Marty McFlyers came out, the self-lacing kicks, I want to say I found them for like $1,200. Still couldn't get them. where I was like, I'm gonna pay $1,200 for a pair of shoes, still couldn't get them, and it was just like, dude, this is getting crazy, man. So I went over to Saucony and Asics, and I started getting like Gel Light 3s, Grid 9000s, because they're super hard, they're extremely comfortable, but then you don't have like this mass like group of people that
Right.
are trying to buy the same kick.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now I feel like it's worse now because back then like the dilemma was like not a lot of people got the special kicks, right?
Right.
Like Nike would pick and choose who was going to get the kick, and then sometimes like they were few and far between. Like you didn't have the store that was going hard enough to be like, yeah, let me like invest in these cool shoes and let me invest in the business strategy. Let me invest in creating a market for it here.
Right.
They were just buying shoes and selling them, like a gun store. Like, let me get the cheapest guns and sell them. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that was kind of rough. That was the hard part then. So now it's like big, but it's like it's like
Well, they've
fatty.
made it so easy too. You literally sit on your phone and push a button,
And you can buy a pair of
have
shoes.
a pair. But you can't really because nobody can seem to get a pair.
Which is crazy.
It's wild.
And it's like how, or you see these like guys on YouTube that are like, oh, I got the new shoe, or I got the shoe from Nike, or some bullshit. Like maybe they're kicking them just because they're kicking videos out. I don't know who. It's bullshit though. But then it's like a fad where like some of the people that you see that rock some of the kicks, the motherfuckers you see on YouTube, where it's like, who, like, what the fuck? Like you're just like playing dress up right now. Like you're not about that life, about buying kicks and shit. Like, and you know, when I was telling Sienna about it, and I remember when we were in middle school, right? And this is like 99, 2000, right? And we were like, the new East Bay would come in. Like, what was the shit then? Skateboarding, remember? Skateboarding. Everyone wanted skate shoes, Osiris, DCs, DVSs. I think even Element came out with a pair of shoes, right? And everyone thought that was a shit. But we were still on our J's, we were still on our Tims, we were still like, bro, this is what we want. Like this is always what we worn, always what we wanted to wear.
The new Nike Cross trainers, all those.
Yeah, right. And remember when the Jordan trainers first came out back in like 01?
Yep, the gray. You had the red and black.
I had the red and black. Yep. I had the black and gray, red and black, and white and blue. And you know what I'm saying? Like they were hard, man. And then remember, like what I first started to see was like the whole Nelly thing, and when rap started rapping about shoes, and then started having the throwback jerseys and hats, and they started making the throwback shoes. Right, the Dunks came out. Remember, like in ninth grade, the red and gray Dunks.
Well, then the Air Forces came out.
Air Forces came out.
At that time, it was like a re-release. They sold out mad quick.
Yeah.
Right, and then you had like a bunch of Then they came up with the black ones. And I think that might have just been on like a West Coast thing, because I feel like especially like Air Forces, big East Coast shoe, right? Whether they're the high tops or the low tops, right? You get the uptowns. So it was definitely like a demographic thing, right? As far as who was getting them, and it wasn't nobody on the West Coast even really cared about. About Air Forces. Yeah. And then once they hit, they sold out super quick, and then it was like, oh well. What shoe can't you get? Well, let's try to get that shoe. Yeah. Right? And it's just trended up like that. I mean,
and it's insane. Everywhere.
Insane. Well, they don't even do like you can't even stand out. You don't stand outside a store no more. Like you can't go to a Foot Locker or something, stand outside for a night waiting for a shoe to drop. That doesn't happen like that anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For a while they were doing like raffle signups. I did that a couple times. Now it's just they've made it super easy with this thing for anybody.
But the shitty part is like just like when we were trying to cop them, like with the street hawkers, I'm sitting like in the living room and I'm waiting to click the button, and the motherfucker changes from coming soon to sold out at 7:00, and I'm like, there wasn't even a fucking opportunity to press a button.
When the shoe drops, it's gone.
I couldn't
already.
even press the button. So like, where the fuck is all these shoes going? Yeah. What's happening to the kicks?
It's you don't have to hustle no more to get what you want. And
that's crazy.
Especially at resale. Like obviously you can get any shoe you want if you're willing to pay the money.
But I'm not willing to. Whack. That's
that, and then a lot of the stuff, like I would say. Well, I'd say at this point, 100% of the shoes that I get, I wear.
Yes.
Every single pair. Now, there are a few pair where, of course, if I can make a come up on some off-whites that I don't particularly like, I'm going to absolutely buy them and try to flip them. 100%. That's what I would have done with the Street Hawkers.
Because motherfuckers just want off-whites.
Exactly. And if I can make 400% off of what I paid, 100% I'm gonna do it. Like I would never have worn the Street Hawkers. I would have flipped them immediately.
Yeah, because I'm not like
Immediately.
real big on Chinese food and shit.
Yeah,
I
and it's
might
just a
have.
weird. I mean, it's just yeah. It wasn't my thing.
But it's almost like that's the platform now is to cop the pair of shoes and to sell them.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of like it's very along the lines of like the gun market in California because you and with our laws in California you can't just go out and buy whatever gun you want. Right, so it's like being in law enforcement. I can buy whatever gun I want, almost like aside from assault weapons, right? So like, I could go buy a Glock for $600 and turn around and flip it for like $2K, and like someone will buy it like that because it's
Really?
called it's a list, it's off a list gun,
Yeah.
and people are like, I want that gun,
Yeah.
and they'll do it. And so, and it happens. You get them. They call it straw purchases. We're not supposed to do it, but you had motherfuckers that were going crazy with it. That were
Yeah.
like buying guns and guns and guns and making a ton of money off it every
Yeah.
month. And so it's almost like now you have a lot of people who probably aren't sneakerheads that are buying these shoes because they just want to flip it and make that profit.
For sure.
And so now the guys who are sneakerheads, who are like you said, right? All the shoes you buy, you wear. All the shoes I buy, I wear. I want this pair of shoes because I want to wear them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So it's like I don't care about them being dead stock. You know, I want to pick them up and I want to rock them, but now I can't because like Joe Blows or some like dorky ass kids rocking some, and you're like, bro, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like yo ass, you're not gonna be in those in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like you're just
And
being
I've definitely,
you're being fatty.
I've definitely picked up a pair of shoes, you know, well over retail.
Yeah.
You know, I've paid, you know, the resale value of the dudes that are flipping them, just because that's a pair of shoes that I've wanted.
That
I'm
you
not going to
wanted,
spend that kind of
yeah.
money on. I'm not going to spend a ton of money over to try and flip it to make a little bit of money. I won't. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, there are a few. But like the same thing happened. I tried to get the Grinches that came out, the Kobe's that came out.
Yeah.
I was super big on those shoes. Like when they first came out, I think like 2010 is when they first came out. I love that shoe, and then they re-dropped, and it was kind of irritating. I don't know if Ronnie follows or she kept seeing on Instagram that Vanessa Bryant just kept giving them out to like her friends and all these celebrities and everything. And then you come and try to get them and they sell out instantly. I'm like, bro, quit giving the shoes away.
Yeah.
Let the people that want them, that are trying to get them and pay money for them,
Yeah.
get them. Why do you have to give them away for free?
Bro.
And then I think she put out a statement, something like, "Oh, we wanted to do something big, but because of COVID, you know, maybe we'll do something when everything goes back to normal." Another release is all you could do. I'm not trying to meet you. I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't.
I just give me the shoe. I just want to be able to purchase the
buy
shoe
a
that I
shoe,
want.
man, yeah.
And I'm not asking for a free shoe. I'm not
Yeah.
asking for.
I'll pay.
pay the money for the shoe. Just, you know, give the people a chance to get the shoe.
Yeah, I don't understand, man. I don't
So-
get it. I don't get it. And it is like now it's like you got Miley Cyrus rapping about wearing J's. Everybody wants J's, and it's just like driving the market crazy, man. And I don't really even give a fuck about the exposure. I don't care about that because it's just like for us, it's like something we've always done, it's something we always love, and
Yes.
we're always gonna have.
Yep.
We're always gonna have them. They're always gonna be lined up in the closet. So like really I just started getting back into it again and like kind of starting to do my research, but I gotta be easy because I can get lost in that.
Oh
shit,
yeah,
man.
dude. I got Ted hooked, dude.
He's always on the
And
app.
I would say in the last, let's call it 2 months, the last 8 weeks, he's probably picked up 6 to 10 pairs
Oh, nice.
of sneakers
Nice.
off of just like coming over, talking one day. And I told him, I was like, look, dude, because he was like, oh, no, I want this black pair for work. Well, I'm just going to wear them to work. They're cheap.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it for work. I said, all right, cool. And he was like, but I'm going to get a white pair too. So those will be my, like, when I go out shoes.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
all right. I said, trust me, bro. I said, what's going to happen is you're going to keep seeing these pairs, right? They're either going to pop up or you're going to be searching and you're going to be like, this is the last one. All I need is these ones. I just need these ones and it's over. And that is going to be the cycle that happens over and over and over. Sure enough, man, he came over today. A pair he had bought on StockX, they came back and said that they were fakes. I think so. They gave him his money back. He found them on a different site, ended up buying those, and then bought another pair. So he's got 2 pairs coming already.
Wow.
So he was just like, dude, he's like, you're 100% right. Every time I see a pair that's a different colorway, I'm like, I'll just get those ones. I'll just get those ones.
I got them.
But he's consistent, right? He's been I think every one has been a one low. So he's really big on the one lows.
Oh, okay.
Because he used to skate, so he likes that kind of. It's like a dunk, right?
Yeah.
Just not as bulky, not as heavy. So he likes that silhouette, very sleek, very minimalist.
So he wants all the colorways in it.
So he's just been going like, oh, I need a gray pair for when the Cowboys wear these jerseys. Oh, I need a blue pair for when the Cowboys wear these jerseys. And I'm like, dude, it's never gonna end. Trust me, bro. It'll never end. It's a never-ending business. Like I stopped for a little bit when I was really, really like heavy into jiu-jitsu because I was spending money on gis.
On gis, and
yeah,
shit.
and they're just. I mean, some of them are just as much as a pair of sneakers.
Yeah, gis are expensive, man.
Like I said, they make it so easy and so accessible for anybody to pick them up and to do whatever they need to get them. That it takes away from the people that, you know, have felt this way for a long time about sneakers.
Oh, it's always been a part of their lifestyle.
Yeah. I've always. Yeah, it's all, dude. I remember, I probably had to have been in like 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade, and it wasn't even about what shoe it was. It was just about taking care of it. I had gotten some Payless shoes, and I remember keeping them. They were white Payless shoes, and I just remember all I cared about was keeping them clean. And I would run around outside in them, and I'd play in them. But even still, man, I'd keep them. So all I cared was that they were clean. That's it.
Mom bought me some like Pro Keds from Payless when I was like in the 3rd grade, and I was so embarrassed, man. And Mom was like, we'll get some more shoes later. I just gotta get you a new pair of shoes for now. We'll call it a day. And I was like super embarrassed. Those motherfuckers are hard, but I ended up getting. I had a pair of like limited edition Pro Keds when I was buying kicks all the time too. They were hard, and they were like $175.
Yep.
And but they just like looked like regular basic Pro Keds. But I remember that they were white and blue, and I was trying to clean them, and especially with David, like David was always like cleaning his shoes and all that shit. So. I was always trying to like copy him, you know what I mean, but it was just always a part of our lifestyle. Like that's just a part of our lifestyle, our kicks and shit.
Yep.
When we played football, like your cleats, what cleat you had to get when the Vapors first came out.
Yes.
Like you know what I mean, like it was a big deal, and it's just like I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't think anyone has to own any one thing. Like anyone can own any one thing. Like if there's someone that truly loves kicks and it's a lifestyle thing and they buy them and they rock them, like then I respect that.
Yeah.
But then like motherfuckers that are just being fatty and taking up space, it's just like, bro, go somewhere else, man.
Yeah.
Like go somewhere
else.
And
then like they make it, not only they make it easy accessibility wise, but a lot of these sites will give you like payment options. So you don't even have to come up. Let's say you want a pair of Yeezys for $500. You don't even have to come up front with $500.
You just pay payments.
You pay $20 a month or whatever it is.
That's crazy.
Like that's super dangerous too, man. You're getting these young kids in debt to try to get some, super hyped up sneaker just to have it, right? It's crazy. And then like you said, like a fad, like these wave of sneakers that come through, like the dad shoe fad that came through. And I don't even know if it's still around, but it is hideous, bro. Like
that's super.
Those big Filas that are out, right? Even the Adidas that are out. They're all like, I think Nike came out with a couple pair, all like hard pass on all of it.
Hard pass
on
bro.
all of it.
I did pick up some Filas. I got what do they call it? Like the Disruptors or something. It's an A-Life Fila collab. And those were hard. Those are super hard. I remember starting to see the collabs come around like maybe like 2012 was when they started coming like real hard.
Yeah, A-Life has always been. They did a collab not too long ago with Adidas. That's really really dope. So yeah, that's a dope little street brand.
Yeah, it is dope. It is dope.
And the ones you got are hard too. That colorway is.
You know what, man? Like a lot of the colorways I've been looking at now, like that I've been real interested in, is like all one color. Like, so those
like
are all
monotone.
gray with the gum sole, right? And those are hard, man. Like my poets were super hard. Like the poets, those are blazers, and they were all blue suede. Those are super hard. And then I had my Statue of Liberty was one of my favorite pair of shoes. My Statue of Liberty Dunks, those are all green. As they call like seagrass green. Those are hard, super dope. So I don't know, man. I kind of I like that colorway. Those fives are super hard with the flags on the heel. That just came out, the Chinese New Year fives. Super gangster. But I don't know, man. I always kind of slide back towards my Asics and my Gelite 3s and my Grid 9000s because they're super dope and they're extremely comfortable.
Oh, for sure. Well, they're running sneakers.
Yeah.
That's a running sneaker brand.
So and then you just don't really see them. Like you never really see a lot of people rocking them, and then you don't have like a crazy. So like you don't have this crazy response and like a lot of people buying them being sold out. But it is hard to find because they're not as popular.
Right.
So
not as big of a demand for a
Yes.
shoe that people don't know about.
Yeah. So it's hard. So I don't know. We'll have to see, man. But I think I'm back in it. I got some Fabe soul sauce. So I'm like I gotta clean up. I gotta fix my phone posits, man. And it's just a hassle, man. Where I'm just like, this is whack.
Once it gets you, man, it's hard. It's hard to let go. It's hard to grab on anything else, dude. So
I know, man.
good luck. All I can say is good luck, and I'm right there with you.
I don't know.
Right there with you.
I might just have to settle for. I seen you the picture of those Bodega New Balances, those 997s. I might have to settle for those. Those are hard. Bodega and New Balance has some hard ass collabs.
Yeah,
those are hard. I know you don't like New Balances.
It depends. Yeah, it depends. I always felt like the shoe was too bulky. Especially for me, I got big feet as it is. I don't want to make it look like I got even bigger feet. Like that's why I never wear Chucks. Because my feet are always too big. Yeah, it looks like I'm wearing skis on my feet. I'm like, dude, it's not a good look.
You're scooting and tuning.
That's not a good look.
That's funny, man. That's what that's what I don't like about these little Patrick Mahomes joints, man. I feel like they're too like wide and loose, like floppy. Like I'm like, man, I'll wear them because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I don't know. I don't really like that. But then when you have a shoe that's too kept, like you start worrying about creases and you increase your toe box.
So that's why you just stick with the Jordan 1s. They look better with creases.
They do, man. I don't know. I like the foam posits a lot because there's just like a lot going on. They kind of hide all that shit in the materials, but then they're hard to clean.
Yeah, and
when they get fucked, they're expensive.
Even retail, they're expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive. And then once you do get them too, and you start fucking with them, like it's hard to bring them back. Like they're not just like simple materials and shit. And but they're gangster though. I remember Penny Hardaway had them with Orlando. There was a guy that we ran into last night who had a Shaquille O'Neal jersey, a blue one from Orlando. It was dope. It was so dope.
Yeah.
And Lamar was saying like, "Oh man, I used to have one of those jerseys, man. I used to love that jersey. It's my favorite player."
Dude, I had some Shaqs. I remember when I think it was Payless used to sell Shaq shoes.
Yeah.
They
did, yeah. When they first came out, huh? You got some Shaqs?
I had some Shaqs. I was probably probably like 5th or 6th grade, maybe. Maybe even. I think we had already come back from Minnesota, so I think I was either 5th or 6th grade.
Okay.
But yeah.
What color were they?
They were black and white.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I remember I got it for my birthday, and we went miniature golfing. And I had some brown corduroy pants with my Shaqs.
Hey, corduroys are hard.
Yeah,
corduroys are hard, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was telling Sienna, I need to get a pair of corduroys. Like, I legitimately will wear them too. Legit. I didn't
know how I feel about corduroys as an adult.
They have to fit right.
I haven't thought about it. My little nephew wears corduroys all the time. I can hear him run down the hall too. Like,
yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I haven't really thought much about it, but as trying to cop them now. But yeah, I'll never forget that.
The first pair of shoes that I remember wanting were the Barry Sanders, and were Barry Sanders shoes, and it was mainly because I love Barry Sanders, but David had them, and I thought they were so dope, and that was like around 5th grade, and I was like, I was begging mom, like, Mom, I want these shoes, I want these shoes.
dang. The what were they? Oh no, those were the Bo Jacksons. But yeah, the first pair of shoes I absolutely wanted was in, I think it was 7th grade. The glove. Gary Payton's the gloves. Bro, I went and got them at the mall, but they were too small, and I knew they were too small, but I wanted them so bad.
You got them before I did, huh?
So I went and I played a game in them because I played basketball for Sierra.
Yeah, that's right.
Played a game in them. The zipper busted. So I took them back. Dude, I couldn't find them anywhere. We went literally everywhere. Every shoe store, nobody had them. Couldn't find them in it. Sold out of everywhere, man. So I was super, super bummed about that. But Ronnie ended up getting me a pair.
That's right.
Yeah, like I want to say 2 years ago for like Father's Day or something. She got me some gloves.
And they're black and white, aren't they?
Black and white ones.
Yeah.
The ones I had originally got were the gray ones.
Yeah.
So I was super stoked about that. That's
My
like
first
super
pair of
nostalgic shoe.
That's gangster,
super
huh?
Nostalgic. Yeah.
I remember seeing it and being like, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a big shoe.
It
right?
is.
It's a very wide shoe too.
Yeah.
So I mean, depending on what outfit I guess you put together with it, but I dude, for sure one of my favorite shoes. Simply based off nostalgic purposes, and they're super comfortable too. So.
They're super comfortable. I love Gary Payton. Gary Payton was dope, man. So I used to love watching him and Sean Kemp. And Sean Kemp's Reeboks are hard, and it was just like, bro, that was like the beginning of it all for me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, which is weird, like for me too, because I don't. I mean, my mom and dad were not into They were. I don't remember them being into one thing specifically, to where like I picked up that kind of habit, where like my mom didn't have a bunch of purses or jewelry, or my dad wasn't into. I mean, my dad worked with his hands. He had a bunch of tools, but it wasn't like, oh, I need the best this tool or that tool or whatever. So I don't know. I really don't know where it came from or how it kind of stuck with me, but that was the moment where I was like, man, I absolutely love shoes.
Yeah.
If there's a shoe I want to get, now I got to try and get it.
Yeah.
So it just took off from there.
You know, it's crazy that you say that because I was thinking about that, and I don't know, man. I don't know if it was marketing because you just saw like this huge amount of shoes coming out. The colorways, the designs were super impressive. More and more athletes were starting to wear them. So, like, no matter what you did, I guess with us being athletes, no matter what you did, whether it was like soccer or basketball or football, like someone had a pair of shoes and they were dope.
Right.
You had with King Griffey, and King Griffey's shoes came out. Those were super hard.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And then you're just like, oh, man, those are dope. So now, like, it's starting to touch a little bit of everywhere here and there. And it was interesting, man. And I think our generation caught on to that. And so we were talking about generations, right, earlier. And we're millennials, and you know, we always get a lot of people talking shit, you know, the baby boomers talking shit, and it's Gen Z, right? Gen Zers talking shit.
Gen Z's after us.
Right. Or Gen Z's after, so Gen X.
Gen X is before us. They're young. They're older than us.
So the Gen Xers that are always talking shit. The old guys. Those
baby
are all
boomers
old guys.
are old too.
Yeah, they're all old people.
Yeah.
Man.
So yeah, we're millennials.
Yeah.
And so,
but you know, I kind of feel like that's where it started to come in. You know, like when you look at Tinker, you look at everyone at Nike and what they were doing and how they were producing them, and then now Jordan's getting a new shoe every year or every other year, like, and it's like you're constantly having to get and re-up on it too as well, and that's where I feel like I started to get really lost into it of like, oh, okay, I want those two. Yeah. East Bay, right? You were getting an East Bay every like 2 weeks, every month, once a month, wasn't it? Once a month.
It was like once a month, and then because it was once a month, and then they switched it for a while. And it was probably, I think the internet had started getting a lot bigger, but then they started switching it to season. They would do fall, spring, summer,
Yes,
winter.
that's right. Yeah. And it was a bigger
Yeah. So
magazine.
then they would touch on whatever sport was going on then. And I remember when I
Yeah.
used to put in the order for my East Bay, I would tear that thing out of the center,
Yeah.
fill that thing out with a little corresponding number from the East Bay magazine, put my mom's check in there, and then mail that
And mail
off.
it out.
I didn't not know like, oh, I got the app. I got the East Bay
Yeah,
app.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that
Do you
didn't
remember
exist.
that shit?
I remember doing phone calls for East Bay,
Yeah.
trying to order shoes over the phone.
I thought that was the easiest. I used to always do it that way. I was at a crash one time and we were at the hospital. We were at County USC, and I was like talking to the doctor, and I was like, "Man, it's almost like it's almost like I can't remember what time it was." Because East Bay's like in Minnesota or something, aren't they? They're back east somewhere.
Yeah,
Michigan,
I think it's Indiana.
Indiana? Is it
Oh
Indiana?
no, it's Wisconsin. Yeah, they're in Wisconsin.
That's right.
They're in
Okay, they're in Wisconsin. So I was like, man, I had to take a break. The doctor's talking to me. I said, hey, man, I got to step outside real quick. I go outside and go buy a pair of shoes. That's when I bought my Bordeaux 7s. Called them, got them, went back inside. I was like, okay, I'm sorry, man. I just had to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Got my cool gray 11s that way. Like, so that was kind of cool. I like East Bay a lot. They have great customer service. And so I'm just like, that's why I was downloading the East Bay app tonight. Like, oh, look, Jay, they do got some retros on here, bro. Like, look. Because you know what I mean.
And
that was a saving
I first
grace.
heard about East Bay from an old park and rec coach that I had playing for flag football. His son, he had on some man, I don't even know what they were. They might have been low top Blazers. Now that I think about it, the leather ones. And I was like, oh, man, I like your shoes. He was like, oh, man, I got them off of here. Check this out. And he was older. He would just help his dad out coach. And so I was like, boom, hooked. And I would just go through that thing, circle the stuff that I liked.
I remember.
Circle little outfits that went together.
Yeah. Remember that
Dude,
shit?
it was so dope, man.
Remember we'd be like, hey, Jaron, you go through the magazine. Let me go through the magazine.
Yeah.
Don't say anything to me.
Yep.
We'll pick what we like, and then we'll sit down and go over what each one of us would like on each page. Like, oh, I'd buy that. I'd buy this. We
Oh,
look at
I'd
the
rock
size.
this with that. Yeah.
Remember that shit?
Yep.
And they started selling Sean John and shit in it, remember?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, they hit the streetwear stuff for a while, right? Because it was and then it was a big sports thing when they would come out every whatever the season was, and they'd have like a full section of their catalog dedicated to baseball or soccer, football, whatever.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Nowadays I feel like you can get anything from anywhere.
Yeah.
But people like that, they've always had to change with the times.
Yeah, they had to.
Get the app and the accessibility for people. I just bought some shoes off of East Bay not too long ago. Some Reacts that they had. And I still get, they used to come in the mail, but now it's like an email. And they used to give you like a $20 off of $100 or whatever for your birthday, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, I get the emails now too.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nostalgic, man. I like that. And that's what kind of brings me into like and I was talking to you earlier about this kid who like his car broke down and he decided to stop in the middle of the roadway, and he thought that was the best thing to do. And we were asking him, and people ended up crashing into him and shit. And we were asking him like, what were you thinking? Like, what were you doing? He was born like in 95, something like that, and he's like right on that cusp of being a millennial.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought this was the best idea. Like this was the safest place to be. And we're like, how? Like how? Like you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot, man. Like this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And so, you know, we kind of started, me and Lamar started kind of going off on this millennial tip. And I had to like redact myself because I'm always arguing with people about it at work, and they don't like talk too much shit about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go kind of hard when we start arguing about shit at work. So, you know, to me, it's like we were a generation of youngsters that were created, right? Like the baby boomers were doing their thing. The baby boomers were creating businesses and starting new shit. Tech shit was coming in. They were the ones that were investing and creating that shit. And we had the Gen Xers that were kind of working and coming up and putting the work on that shit. And then we were the ones that saw the fruits of all that labor. You know what I mean? The microwaves, real heavy, everything in there, everything coming out, everything being fast. The development of like McDonald's and fast food, where they're popping up everywhere. They're making billions of dollars. They have the money to invest to go everywhere. Where if you're hungry, you just drive down the street and buy it. You know what I'm saying? And all these things that are transcending throughout our young lives to where we become adults. And we get like at work, we get a lot of young police officers that are coming and they're like, why do you do that? Like, why don't you just do this? And the old officers are like, man, don't ask me questions. I've been doing this for 26 years. I've been doing this since you've been shitting on yourself. And you're just like, but it's like, to some people, it's like offensive. Like to some of the old guys, it's offensive. It's like, just listen to what I'm saying and do what I'm saying. And then a lot of times you're like, why? Like, doesn't make any sense. Like the boomers and the Xers taught us how to be efficient naturally. Like we because it's that easy. Just like you said, buying shoes, right? We went from within a small amount of time of having to call East Bay to order the mag, to rip this shit out, putting a check in there. I don't even fucking own checks. I don't even have checks right anymore. And then I only use checks for a couple of years. And then now we're being flipped and deserted and brought into a whole nother realm of transactions, regardless of what it is, right? And so I've always thought that was interesting. And so like we've always been, in my mind, in my opinion, we've always been a generation where we just kind of flip and flop with what's going on. And it's real easy for us to do that versus being stuck in this mindset of like, this is the way it is and this is the way it has to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? So even now in us coming up and you're being a supervisor, I wonder, and I'll let you kind of explain what you deal with, especially in your work environment with the older guys and how they do shit, what they do, how they view things, because it's crazy, man. It's rampant as shit, and law enforcement too as well, because a lot of the people who are in charge are a lot older. Yeah. They're in their early 50s, mid 50s. And they just have this, it's just like different, like completely different, man, where we all think differently. And my one of my captains is older. He's an older dude, and he wrote this little paper for his school. I think he was getting his master's degree or something like that. And he was saying, like, you know, when we look at the realm of millennialship, right? Like, when these millennials start taking over these companies, these Fortune 500 companies, law enforcement agencies, government agencies, like, this shit's gonna flip upside down and just be inside out, just because of the way of how fast we can change, how fast we can adapt, and the way that we think. But this has all been designed by baby boomers and Gen Xers. So I always look at it as like, stop bitching and complaining about what you created. You know what I'm saying? What's your take? What do you think?
So I as you're saying that, I'm starting to think like, obviously, when it comes to anybody saying or having like a thought on something or why something is the way that it is, I always wonder like, what is the reason for it, right? So you said that the baby boomers and the what is it, Gen X, they created us to be this way. So then my mind immediately went, well, my parents were a little softer on me than their parents were on them, right? Is it because they let's go to like a discipline aspect of things.
Yes.
Back then, right? How many times did you hear? I used to get beat with a belt. I used to get beat with a hanger. I used to get beat with an extent. Like, the list is endless of things our parents got their butts whooped with, right? It's crazy. I got beat with a hammer one time. Yeah. Like, all of that stuff, right? I'm sure some exaggerated, some extreme, but to a certain degree, I'm sure our parents saw that as too much at the time. But I don't think what they necessarily translated to is how it's affected them as an adult. I watched a very interesting video not too long ago about one of the things that they asked was, how do you feel about spanking, right? Corporal punishment. And these two, it was like a group of like 6 people. Okay. They were so widely like separated about how they all felt about it. They were divided. It works. It doesn't work. I'm teaching my kid to be violent. All of these things. Wow. All of these things. Yeah. But I think one of the things, especially if you ask the older generation that sees the younger generation and how they're acting and how they seem, you hear a lot spoiled gets brought up a lot. You know, the word spoiled.
Yeah.
I think discipline has a lot to do with that aspect of things. So I think that's where it gets kind of muddied, right? Those parents that brought us up, they thought at the time that the discipline was too much, so they eased it up a little bit on us, right? And so now it seems to trickle and lessen. It's like if you take a copy of if you take a printout of a picture, and then you make a copy of it. Every single time you make a copy of it, you lose a little bit of what the picture
detail,
is.
yeah.
It gets a little more distorted, a little more. So that's what's happening, right? When it comes to the idea of like hard work, the idea of discipline, the idea of structure, the idea of things being like finite and fixed. And I think to a certain degree, there's definitely arguments to be made of progress. And I think that's probably what the older generation struggles with. You're always afraid of what you don't know.
You're afraid of what you don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So that goes but in my field, it's a little different. I work with a lot of guys that work with their hands. They're very like specific as to what they can do. Some and a lot of guys can do a lot of overall things, but it's very vocational centric, meaning they're there to fix things. They're there to make things.
It's task oriented.
Yeah. There's not a lot of you can't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Right? These guys are literally working with a wheel.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like the tools may get better. They may become stronger, more powerful, last longer, more efficient. But the way to do it doesn't necessarily change all that much.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not as much. Now that bring technology into it, hey man, I need you guys to watch this video via Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Then they get all pissy because they don't want to do it. Yeah.
Like,
or I need you to take this training and it's online. And it's like, dude, what do you mean? You know, or I need you to start punching in your work orders on the tablet. And like, that's where it gets.
Not writing down on a piece of paper.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where it gets like, it can kind of get away. But as far as doing, like, I don't see it much in application as far as what we do.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of those guys are huge mentors to the younger guys, right? Because I think in that field, in a field that's very blue collar, very like get dirty as far as work goes, that's like a looked up to trait, right? As much as people want to sit back and do less, I think you've talked about it before. That book that you read, where people will do as little as possible to get away with something.
Yeah.
Those people don't necessarily last very long in the field that I'm in.
Yeah, the principle, least effort. Yeah.
And you know, it has those people that really, really grind and do hard work. Those people are looked up to as like, yo, I want to be like that. I want to have that mentality. And that's how I grew up. I grew up watching my dad do that kind of stuff. I mean, that dude never slowed down a second at all doing anything.
Yeah,
and I admired that. Yeah. And so that's how I approached when I was working and all of that. But I do think it's interesting how as parents see, and then that's the other thing too, like, I feel like a lot of people are on board with the same thing. As generations go down, people start to get a little more compromised, a little more, I think they think with progress, they think everything has to be changed.
So do you think that as far as, do you think that discipline was a catalyst, what's changing everything from generation to generation? So like
I would say
baby boomers are super
strict. I would
strict,
probably say it's the top of the list.
Right?
I would say so.
Okay. So the baby boomers are strict, and then every time, like mentally, like psychologically, it's getting a little bit more, each generation's becoming a little bit more,
they're softer.
Soft.
Well, because look at
understanding.
Look at with sports. People get participation trophies.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody gets a trophy. Oh, we don't keep score. Oh, we don't do. Dude, what is it? All of my kids that have played any sport at any age, from the very youngest when you can start playing, the number one thing they ask when the game is over, who won? even if the coaches, the parents, the league, the directors of the league don't want to keep score, that is the only thing the kids care about. The kids want to know who won. But the parents complain, oh, we don't want to hurt their feelings. Everybody's a winner.
Now,
Nobody loses.
What are the average age? What's the average age of those parents that you see or that you have seen? Are they older? Are they millennials?
I would say they have to fall within the millennial range.
The millennial
if
range.
not the very end of the Gen X. Because, I mean, we had kids young. So when my kids were in sports, I was still in my mid to late 20s.
So you had a lot of Gen Xers that were out there.
So I think so, unless they were my age too. But just visually, I think that they were a little bit older with kids the same age as my kids, me being so young. But that's where you really started to see it was, no, we don't want to hurt. We don't want to offend any of the kids. We don't want to discourage the kids from places. But that competition is what feeds people to do things. So well, we talked about this in a couple shows ago, right?
Yeah.
The competitiveness of things, right? It pushes people to want to do better and make bigger strides.
Yeah.
When there's no competition, you get a bunch of lazy people that don't have no, I want it to just be given to me.
Yeah, there's no
give me that
reason.
trophy for just standing here while the kids kick the soccer ball in circles around me.
You know, I agree. I think if when we're looking at the discipline side of things, when you look at sports, the way we treat kids in sports, when you look at the way marketing's done, how we market, how easy it is to buy shit, how easy it is to do things, like it is creating a sense of, it makes everything easy. It's extremely easy. Even like these little kids that become rappers and make beats and shit, like these kids are just like getting a little, rinky-dink software thing, and they're making bangers like on the computer, and like they don't really know what they're doing.
SoundCloud artists,
right? Yeah, and then put it on SoundCloud, and they're becoming millionaires and billionaires, and then you know what I'm saying, like which is crazy, but it's an interesting twist.
Yeah, I have a tough time thinking that discipline and that area of things doesn't have much to do with it. For whatever reason, I mean, the arguments can be made across the board. What is hitting going to have how is hitting going to make anything better? Like, I think that real consequences to real actions makes a difference. Let's say you choose not to spank. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. If you don't spank, I don't think there's anything wrong that you do, right? Obviously limits, right? You can't be smacking your kid with a switch every time they drop the glass of milk on the counter, right? That's a mistake. But I just think that discipline from top to bottom it has to do with the way that you treat other people. It has to do with the way you treat other adults. In school, I think it trickles down to so many different things. That feed into like your daily life.
I've always felt like, I remember being young, and my grandfather used to work for Britannica, and I remember we used to have a gang of encyclopedias, but I was like, I'm not looking through that shit. But as I got older, I remember when YouTube first came out. I remember when like Google was first coming out. We first got our first computer, and you can just like go online and find information and shit, right? And it made it kind of easy, right? To where like that form of navigation was simple, and I kind of always associated with like a level of fear. Like as we go on, we start to be where we are. With everything being a little more accessible, right? We're getting more knowledge. It's easier to get knowledge, so it's easier to kind of try to educate yourself, or whether it's right or wrong, right? Whether it's opinion or not, or factual. And then, like, you kind of start getting away from needing the people or listening to those people, to those mentors, where in the past that's what you had to do. You know what I'm saying? So now, like, all this technology and all the shit that we did have started to create a divide with what needed to happen. So now if you're at the football game and they're like, hey, who won, guys? And you're like, we're not going to tell you. They're like, okay, I don't really give a fuck then. Like, what are we going to do next? Yeah. Let's go home and go play video games or something then, right? With just the abundance of things to do, places to go, and things to see. and it just wasn't the same like that, like with our parents, you know what I mean? So when you look at society as a whole and the advancement of society as a whole, like there are a lot of, you know, micro and macro associates that have sculpted what is going on, I think, and what has happened, and the way millennials think. So I think we still have people, like we still have millennials that work hard, you know,
For
like
sure.
you got it from your dad, you got it, you work hard, you're smart, you're intelligent. So looking at like the millennial group as a whole as being like, oh, they're fucking
Right.
lazy,
It's
or they don't
definitely a
have
lot
shit.
of, yeah, there's a
You
lot
know
of,
what I'm saying?
yeah. Especially when it's thrown out. I don't feel like I've ever heard the term millennial thrown out in any kind of positive
Never.
connotation.
It's
It's
never
always been like
positive.
millennials.
Yeah. Oh, he's a millennial.
Yeah.
Like all
Oh, you
these
acting like a real millennial.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
millennials want everything. They want to come into work and have weekends off. Like, you know, at our job, you know, they talk shit about millennials because you get these young guys that come in and they're like, wait a minute, like, I can't have Christmas off? Like, why?
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean why? I had to work 27 years before I got Christmas off. And you're like, I don't care what you had to do for 27 years. I don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
I want to have Christmas off because I want to spend time with my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me being a millennial. Like, I
Right.
want to spend time with my family. We were looking earlier, right, that millennials have like, as each generation goes by, the divorce rates in our homes and society drops, right? So there were more divorces through baby boomers, Gen Xers, than there are less and less as each generation goes. But also there are less millennials that are getting married, right? So I think the stat we saw earlier was 26%. Only 26% of millennials are married. And so rightfully so, like that divorce number is going to drop regardless, right? And in succession with it. So it's just interesting, you know what I mean? And it's like, what leads us to these decisions and what leads us to the positions that we're in? You know what I'm saying? And like, what has led, like, if discipline has been getting softer, why then through each year? Like, is it a sociology type based thing where maybe like our parents were like, hey, I felt more disconnected from my parents because all I did was give me direction and like,
well, that and then we're fed. I think as millennials too, we grew up as personal computers were becoming a thing, as social media was becoming a thing, as TV was becoming a thing, right? Nonstop 24-hour TV. So now you're being fed ideas about things. It's not so much about what you, right? We started very tribal, right? There was nothing else to entertain us but us.
besides each other, yeah.
Right. Well, now we have these other things telling us what's funny, telling us what's right, what's wrong, what's normal, what shouldn't be normal, all of that stuff. So that, along with what you said, right, I felt the disconnect between, you know, with my parents and stuff. Well, what was that disconnect? What was the cause of it? Or what was it? Was it because you didn't feel like you were a friend with your mom and dad? Like that's not the goal of being a parent. It's not to be your friend.
Yeah.
It's to be your parent.
Yeah.
It's to raise you, to teach you, to help train you in these things, to be, you know, these people that, you know, obviously they're striving for you to be. Well, and as things become easier, we necessarily take that path across the board. Well, it's just easier if I don't scold my kid that often.
Yeah.
It's easier for friends, and we can just be playing. No, I mean, discipline is a pain in the butt, not just for the kids, but for the parents as well. I hated it when my parents say it. I'm sure my kids hate it now that when I say it. This is gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. Right? Like I don't want to do this, but to me it's a very necessary thing, right? I think discipline is a very loving thing. It's a very like a correction is
like a nurturing.
Absolutely,
response.
it shows that you care. It's a guiding thing, right? When you step out of line, how do you know you stepped out of line? Because something happened. Right?
There's a repercussion.
Got
that ass tap.
Exactly. There's a consequence for everything good and bad.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you learn. That's how you get put back on the line from bouncing around. Right. So I just as you take steps, or as generations step down more and more and more, I just think that there's a lot a lot. Yeah, that's a lot easier to just say, I'm not gonna be that. I'm not gonna do that. And then now, not so much tribal with the people around you, but you got the tribe of the internet. You can find whatever you want to
Just
confirm
clicks
whatever you be.
everywhere.
If you want the confirmation that you don't have to discipline your kid, they can do whatever they want, they can eat whatever they want, say whatever they want to whoever they want, you'll find a group of people on the internet
That
that
agree.
backs you up 100%, and you'll feel validated.
And they're ready to fight.
Yes,
to
you'll feel
death.
validated, and it's
And you're like, see,
Exactly,
yeah. We're like, oh my gosh.
That's why I'm very it's important for us, for me and my family, to be very rooted in the church, and have that be right. Where does anybody pull their guidance from?
Their knowledge.
Is it
and
just something
guidance,
that they think of? Well, they got those thoughts from somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So if I choose to guide my family and train up my kids, as I'm directed to do so in the Bible, then that's where I'm getting my truths from.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that too, because when I talk to people about like discipline and guidance and direction, like as an adult, like as a parent, like one thing that comes to mind a lot are like people that are like, I didn't like my mom and dad, or I didn't like my dad because, and I would be like, why? Well, because my dad didn't do this, or my dad didn't do that, or my mom wasn't this kind of mom, or whatever it may be. And I'm like, well, like, where is this coming from? Like, where does this idea, this concept come from? Like, how long have you felt this way? Like, oh, since I was a teenager. So it's like, well, as a teenager, did you fucking know what it was like to be a mama or a dad?
Heck no.
Like, what experience are you talking about?
Right.
And where does this experience come from? Like, where did this knowledge of what a mom or dad is come from? And it's transcended through your life, through puberty as a teenager and into your adult life, to where this is what you actually believe.
Right.
And subconsciously, like, this is what you think in your mind. You know what I'm saying? And it is. It's, once you become parents, and and especially with us as young parents, it quickly changes your perspective about what it is to be a parent, and how difficult it is, right? And it's not to give anyone a break. There's some fucked up parents out there that do some shit that are crazy, like we know some people that are like, damn,
Yeah.
like,
sure.
okay, like that's a motherfucker who has a clout to be like, my mom was fucked up, or my dad was fucked up. Like, yes, they were.
Yep.
Now what do you do about it, right? And so, and not to not as like some kind of negative disclaimer, is like, who gives a fuck, don't cry. Like we have to find, like you said, there are repercussions, whether they are good or bad. Like, how do we move forward? How does it make you feel? How do you express yourself? How do you know what it's doing, and how does it affect you subconsciously? But it does happen. You get a lot of people that are like, I feel like maybe like the Gen Xers and baby boomers are like, well, this is how I was raised, so this is how I'm going to raise you, without ever really thinking outside the box. Right? I think there are a lot of millennials that do think outside the box, but I do think, I do see some soft ass people, like that soft ass kid that just stopped in the middle of the roadway and was like, I don't know what to do.
It's a joke.
This is what I think.
Yeah, it's turned into it's almost like a joke. Like, a millennial doesn't know how to change a tire.
No, I've come across it a gang of times where kids are like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't know how don't you know how to change a tire?
It's never been an important thing, right? Because of accessibility to easy stuff. I got a AAA card. Why do I need to change a tire when I can call Joe's Towing to come change my tire
for me? That's crazy.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's just. And I think that honestly too, I think you can look back and you can see that like the education like field has gone the same way, right? Because I used to have shop class.
Yeah.
They used to have woodworking class. Yeah. They used to have home ec.
Yeah.
They used to have all that stuff. Why don't they have that stuff anymore? Mm-hmm. Is it the argument because it's not beneficial? Not beneficial for who? Because who's to say that if you never took that stuff away, things would have, right? Every kid would know how to change a tire because you would learn how to do it in school.
Now, what do you think is the cause? Do you think it's technology? What do you think caused it, and what caused that direction? So say like my theory of like our parents, right? Our baby boomers, our Gen Xers are like, well, this is how my parents raised me, so this is how I'm going to do the same. where we had people who grew up knowing how to change tires, knowing how to do this shit, who had the discipline, where there were distinct relationships and roles within a family.
I don't know. I don't know if it's my honestly. Initially, it goes back to a discipline thing for me. I just think that.
How did it go by the wayside?
Well, I'm sure that a lot of it had to do with like no father in the home, or broken home, right? Divorced parents, that kind of stuff. Kids seeing that, like a lot of behavioral issues and stuff. Because I mean, you look now, and even discipline being able to happen within the school doesn't. It's not a thing, right?
Oh, like how
Teachers are not allowed to discipline, and not even like physically. I mean, like
yelling at them
or scolding them,
Yeah.
or putting them in giving like detention. All that stuff is being kind of taken away because it's offensive or whatever. Like there's no accountability. No one takes accountability for anything. It's who can I blame for what I don't know how to do, or what I can't do, or what's happened to me. There's no accountability for anything. It's people's. It's their get out of jail free card. My dad never. I don't know how to change a tire because my dad never taught me how to change a tire. Yeah, but what you could argue and say, well, what does that automatically disqualify you from learning how to change a tire
from
yourself?
trying to figure it out.
You are the owner of this car. You drive this car.
Yeah.
Therefore, you should take the responsibility to learn how to change this tire. Right? It's the personal accountability for all of it. But no one wants to do that. No one wants to say I should have done this, because it's self-reflection that makes them look bad. Right? Like, oh, I messed up. No one wants to say
No one will say like, oh, I fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else put me in this spot. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting, man.
yeah, I think that was. I mean, that I've mentioned that before too, especially when we were on the. I think we hit some political topics at one point, and I had mentioned I think that's the solution to other than everyone in human history, or everyone alive now, becoming Christians, right? Which Bible prophecy tells us that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The fix for all of this stuff that's going on is people taking accountability for their own actions, for what they're doing, how they're acting, the stuff that's being put out there. It's so easy to do something, especially now with social media. You can do something without even a face. You can say something without even a face. You can incite something with no name. Your name is John Doe 12748361, and you can spew at the mouth whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
You would never say that to that person if you were standing in front of them.
So the ability for these individuals to do or to display those types of actions or behaviors is causing a change in society.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, specifically with millennials, or is it because they use the majority of that technology, or is it across the board? Is it with baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, Zs?
No, I would say for sure with millennials, and it's only getting worse as
time
as
goes.
we progress.
Yeah, shit.
As we progress, I feel like there is some sense of entitlement for the people that are older than us, right? They feel that entitlement in terms of, well, I've been there and I've done it, so I'm owed this, right? I don't think that that's necessarily the same thing of them not being accountable for what they do and what they say and stuff. I think it's more of they feel like they have some sort of like honor, like a badge of honor. That and I did this on my own. I've been there. I worked my butt off and all of this stuff. And I'd be interested to see if there's any kind of like studies out there that show, like when, especially I think too, right? Look, wealthy families is probably a big thing. Like with any kind of money, right? They obviously want to do stuff for their kids, but how well does that turn out long term?
As far as discipline goes,
As far as what they turn into.
by
Well, 'cause
just
look
giving
at,
them shit
well,
or
that,
having the
yeah,
having the ability to have.
just giving them whatever it is they want to, I have this, I've worked it. You're my child. I'll give you, I'll give you this. We'll go here. We'll do these things. You can have this new car when you turn 16, that kind of stuff.
It's like Britney Spears' son saying that his mom was a hoe.
Yeah. But
Did
I
you see
mean,
that?
look, I didn't see that. Well, he's not wrong.
Oh dang! Man.
But yeah, I mean, look. Well, and then the other thing too. Look at people like Jake Paul and Logan Paul. These dudes are stupid rich and stupid famous because of what reason?
Awesome bullshit. Disney. Some
No,
Disney
the
shit.
freaking YouTube videos.
YouTube shit.
So everyone has this example. Granted, this is not the norm. This is very much the outlier in the group of however many YouTube channels there are.
Yeah.
But these dudes found it. They did whatever. I'm sure they put in a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But it's not the same hard work. It's not the same as, going out and, doing a coal miner's job, doing all of this stuff. And it doesn't take a lot to be able to run a video camera and edit it. Doesn't take a whole lot of skill, right? So you could argue that it's not the same hard work. But they're there. I'm sure they're shooting content every day. But that they see it and it's like, oh, this is fun. This looks like fun. And he gets to live in this big old house and drive these fancy cars. And all he did was shoot videos. And he's got stupid. I can do that.
So if the youngsters have an example from millennials now of so into the future you start getting into the Gen Zers,
And the
we found out
Generation Alpha,
the alphas, right? Like they're gonna be just as soft or softer.
which is an interest. Generation Alpha, like Alpha's the beginning. I don't know. Are they just starting
like
over?
who came up with that?
Yeah, like how's that Alpha? Unless Alpha has a different meaning that I'm unaware of.
Well, for the soft, if there's the softy, alpha don't mean alpha, bro.
That's right. Beta,
Right.
Generation Beta.
I don't know. That's interesting, man. That's interesting. That's real interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I take the examples like for me when it comes to being, a dad and all that stuff. I take the examples that I have set before me and the stuff that I look into, and that's the stuff that I apply when I'm, being dad.
Being dad.
Being dad and making the decisions that I make to be the man that I am at work, at home, around friends, family, that kind of stuff. I think it's important to find out the type of person and legacy that you'll leave with people when you're done with them. And what is that being drawn from? Is it drawn from YouTube? If you let your kids be raised by YouTube, 100% they'll be raised by YouTube. They'll have the moral standards of YouTube. They'll have the ethical standards of YouTube. They'll have the ideas of YouTube. And that's how they'll move forward in life.
So generational inconsistencies and, or if I should say, they all stem from the home and the structure of the individual families.
For sure.
And then once you leave the house and you're outside, it's everyone's being affected as a whole. So no one specifically is responsible, in your opinion, for what's going on besides the home and besides the decisions that are being made by the individuals outside of the home.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know without doing any kind of deep dive other than I would just say that, yeah, that's, kind of shooting from the hip. That's kind of like the layout of how I see how I see it trickling down.
Okay.
Right. It's not as important, right? The family structure doesn't seem to be as important now as it was back then.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think when you look at stats too, you think they're like
And it affects a
being.
lot of different areas.
It does. It does. Being founded as like a nation that believes in God and a lot of Christians, and you know, there was a different mindset to where I would say like during baby boomers and even probably through Gen Xers, like when you got married, it was in line and corresponded to religion, right? To where it was like, okay, we're Christians, we're gonna get married, and we have our beliefs and our reasoning behind that and why, right? To where now it's like getting married, watching YouTube and doing these things, and you want to be a wedding photographer, you want to film wedding videos. Like a wedding is just a wedding, right? And that knowledge, or maybe the separation, for me, I kind of see it too as it's ironic is that we have more access to knowledge, right? But then there's way more opinion
Was to
versus
say,
there being fact now. Like,
you not only do you have more access to all things good and helpful, but you also, and I think people don't see it this way, but I think it's a very real thing. There's more ways to be deceived as well.
yeah, of
There's
course.
way more ways to
Yeah.
be fooled and tricked and convinced
Yeah.
into believing something that's not
Yes.
real,
Yeah.
or that is extremely skewed,
Yeah.
or is very self-fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the
yeah.
wrong way to go about
To
things.
navigate in life. I completely agree. And it's something I always tell people, right? For as much good as there could be, there's going to be just as much bad, and vice versa, right? For as much truth, there's going to be as many lies. And that accountability and navigating through life with good intentions and a good heart, which we're born with through the Holy Spirit, is definitely going to be the way to try to guide yourself versus kind of trying to just making shit up as we go along, right? Regardless of whatever generation it may be. I just happen to feel like as millennials, I think we're kind of in this spot where we can take advantage of it, and hopefully we do. And I'm always being optimistic, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
yeah.
hopefully we do. We can see it. We can take advantage of it. We can go from there. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting. It's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting topic versus you hear a lot of people that just have the opinions or their opinions on millennials, and like you said, it's always negative talk, like, oh, millennials are bad, millennials are
Yeah.
and it's just always like, nah, man, get out of here, bro.
Yeah.
We can always go back and forth and pick the onesie twosies, but at the end of the day, what's important is what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
As Christians, is we're here to spread God's word and to do what God tells us to in that sense of direction, right? But it's interesting, man. It's an interesting conversation.
I'm sure it can go a lot of different ways.
Oh yeah,
too.
for sure, man, for sure.
Yeah, there's I think that if you were to break it down to every nuanced little category, you'd probably find different things here and there to plug in to a contributing factor as to why things have gotten to the way
Yeah,
that they are.
yeah,
Because there are very few things out there, I think, that people would say, like ethically and morally, that we're better off now than we were a generation ago. I think things were much better. As you go back further and further and further and further and further.
You think things are better as you go back further?
Absolutely.
And what's the basis? Like, what was better and what describes it as better? This is gonna be like a whole hour long conversation.
I know.
That's interesting that you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've gotten so far away from. We've gotten so far away from God. We've gotten so far away from the selfless attitude that was displayed to us through Jesus, as as Christians. And the argument can be made, oh, I don't believe it. Okay, you don't have to. You don't believe it, but there's historians that'll argue the fact that it was an actual, true, selfless thing. I just feel like there's so many people out now for this. There's so many deception. There's so much deception out. There's and I don't know if it's more. You could argue that it's more, even though it's more prevalent because of the news, because of social media.
The accessibility.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's more in your face. You could argue that it's more, or that it's just more visible. But I would argue that also gives people more of a chance to do it. So we're obviously going in a more dark place. We're obviously going to a worse place. But everything else is absolutely on the rise, right? Abortions are on the rise, divorce, the numbers are on the rise. So all of these things that are going up just prove that what was before was better.
Oh, okay. Because, like you said, right? You were saying earlier, like the only thing you had were each other and the group and the tribe mentality. So now with the accessibility going up, it's starting to cause people to separate, right? So there's probably less people getting married. There's less people doing this, less people doing that, less people going to church, less people believing in God.
For sure.
I can see that. I think when we look at it from a religious standpoint too, a spirituality standpoint, it's definitely real heavy. To me, it's like a war. It's a war, and it's something that has been slowly going through time and affecting a lot of us in different ways. And you're right. Like with the nuances, you can always we can pick and choose nuances all day long on what we think the individual circumstances may have caused it,
Yeah.
right? Or where it's leading you to. So I see that. Yeah. So back in the day with the family, with the less accessibility, there was more discipline, more of a way as a family to the family meant more. The family were together more.
People were accountable for what they
families
did.
are accountable.
Yes.
Okay.
People worked harder. People cared more about other people. If you talk to somebody from back in those days and from that generation, I think that it's evident in how things were. There were obviously nothing was. I'm not saying anything was perfect back then. Like society was blissful, and
but the concept
there was
the concept.
Yeah, well, not even the concept as in it was an idea, but if you were to take each person and each family and each group on its own, and you saw how it worked within itself and within the small group around it, that obviously trickles out into bigger and bigger and bigger stuff. So it definitely, as we're going further and further down the line, we're getting further and further away from all of that.
Like
all of that, what I would qualify as good stuff. So.
Me and Sienna were talking about it, and she had brought it up. I think some of the shit she learned in psychology was like, when you look at the mentality and psychology of the family, right, through the years, like the Indians had teepees, and you had mom and dad, and if mom and dad wanted to get it on a teepee, it was like, okay, well, that's mom and dad, that's what they do, right? And eventually through time, we started to create separation where we're creating homes, and there's rooms where there's doors, and now there's like a separate kind of style, like kind of a lifestyle where you have mom and dad inside of the house, where mom and dad have like their own individual relationship in life within their home, and then the kids have theirs as well. But then the rooms and the spaces and design create separation as well, right? So, but as part of the American dream, that's what we get. That's what you get. That's what it turns into, right? And so now, like, those little things start to change the way we see things and the way we think, the way we design things and the way we work, and then the way we communicate and work with each other in our homes as well, right? And then that starts to break down everything else from there. I don't know. I thought that was a very interesting concept as well.
Yeah, I think that there's a design and a plan for everything, right? Including the family, how they're supposed to interact, the relationships, even between the family, between the parents, between the kids. I don't think that there's honestly a mystery behind any of this stuff. I think it's all pretty out there.
Like we already know,
and we know what works.
Yeah,
and we know what doesn't work. But again, people are taking the stuff that doesn't work and they're just saying, "Oh, it doesn't work for me." Well, why doesn't it work for you? Because you're not willing, right? Back then, when you said "I do" to a marriage, that's what it was.
It was done.
That's what it. Yeah, it meant that. It meant the vows that you took meant something. Now they're a suggestion. If you have irreconcilable differences, peace. That's good enough.
I agree. I agree with that. It is funny. And I try not to be negative about it. Like we were talking about the shoes earlier. Like you get all these motherfuckers that become fatty and they just want the shoes because it's cool and that's a cool thing to do. And I think with the marriage, it becomes the same thing, right? And the deception and the pitfall within the home is always going to lead to it being a pitfall, a massive crater outside of the home that a lot of people can fall into and get affected by, you know what I mean? And it's like we have a lot of people that do like the idea, the institution of marriage is a Christian foundation. It's an American foundation, which was founded on Christian beliefs. And but even that has been infiltrated by people who get married, but they don't believe in God. They don't believe in it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that stuff can get masked, and that water become mud. It can become muddied, and it's kind of weird. It's hard to see. You know what I mean? To where like you said back in the day, the majority of people felt this way, thought this way, and we saw this way. And our dollar says, "In God we trust." You know, we said the Pledge of Allegiance. We believe in God and our country, and we go from there. And so now it's a lot of people that are becoming individuals and people that are like, there is a lot of lack of accountability. And I think in society now, it can be seen across the generations. You know, I mean, you probably have some baby boomers doing weird shit. But
For sure.
The time and the concept, right?
We're speaking in generalities.
Yes, in generalities, yeah.
There's definitely outliers in each, each and every category.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree. Yeah, so that's interesting. That would be like a whole nother topic and conversation that we can have too as well.
For sure.
But I think when we look at it generationally, we're seeing major changes that are happening in a short amount of time as generations go by. And I think millennials have the opportunity, man, to do some cool shit, and it kind of sets shit straight, and even kind of like now with Donald Trump and being in the office and this whole political thing and this whole thing about media, I think a lot more people are becoming I don't know if I would necessarily say educated. I guess educated as individuals on what's true and what's not, who's being real and who's not, on a motive, and purpose behind what's going on and why. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is going to be something that's going to be big and start to grow from the years on out, from here on out as well. But we'll have to see. I don't know. Yeah. There's still a lot of divide. There's still a lot of weird shit going on.
That's definitely a super optimistic point of view, because I just see it getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I think it can.
I see it. I see people completely being emotionally driven, what's the best for me.
Oh,
I don't care about anybody else. Yeah. I don't care if it's a lie. I don't care if it's the truth. Nothing. It's only me, and that's it.
I agree. The only thing we can do is live our lives like God tells us to, and hopefully some people will follow. We got to be the example.
For sure.
So if we continue to be the example, I don't know, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't.
Yeah.
But again, I believe in those odds, right? For as many of us that believe we need to be the example, there's going to be as many people who don't. And the people are going to be like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think we're on a good track.
For sure.
We're millennials. I think we have a good mindset.
I'll wear the millennial badge proud.
Proud.
Yeah, because I'm a good millennial.
Yes.
I don't even know if that's a thing.
No, it's a thing. We'll create it.
Cool.
So all the bullshit about millennials. Okay.
Millennial. Cool, man.
Well, shit, till next week. We'll see what we talk about next week, whatever comes up.
Yep.
And then
get some rest, man. You've been working hard. Thank you for all your service and keeping us safe, man.
Thank you.
Can never say thank you enough.
Thank
I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jay.
Appreciate what you do, and make sure you staying safe out there.
I wouldn't be who I am without the people around me. Thank you.
Cool. Love you, brother.
Love you, boo-boo.
All right, man. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
If I put it